Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jack Beasley. I'm a sports photographer and videographer in the Phoenix, Arizona metro area. Today, I want to talk to you about the lenses I feel are the most versatile that I own for sports, either photo or video, sometimes a combination of both. And as we go through them, I'll tell you what I think are probably the most appropriate to start off with to get you going in sports photography. With that, let's get it going. What I want to start off with is photographers will hear this term about a golden triangle, a holy trinity, something along those lines reference lenses. And that trinity usually consists of an ultra wide lens like this. This is a 16 to 35 f4, ultra wide angle to a moderate wide angle. The other one that's usually included in that is a 24 to 70 f2.8 lens. And then finally, the third leg of the Trinity is a 70 to 200 f2.8. So as I go through this, I'm going to tell you right now that Trinity is not, although it might be okay for normal general photography, it kind of breaks down when it comes to sports. For example, I do have this 16 to 35. I rarely use this thing. It is mostly used at the end of like a championship game when I know there's going to be a ton of celebration going on, and I end up getting like in really tight with the athletes as they're celebrating. That's about the only time I use this. Other than that, it just gathers dust on my shelf, that shelf right there. Moving on from that, well, the ones that really get used the most, and I will start with this one. This is a 24 to 120 f4 lens. Now, as a caveat, before I get any deeper into this, is I want to tell you I'm talking some Nikon lenses right here because that's what I own. If you own Canon or Sony, they make almost the exact same lenses out of their brands, the same zoom range, this millimeter to that millimeter. Just because I'm talking Nikon doesn't mean they don't have something very similar. So I would just look at what they've got offered, and if you want to get something along the same lines. 24 to 120 f4 lens. I originally bought this lens because I was going on some trips, and I thought it'd be very versatile for trips, and it was. I didn't really think of it as a sports lens because it's an f4 lens, and you're kind of trained to think f2.8 for sports lenses. But I have found this range pretty good wide angle at 24 to a moderate telephoto at 120. I use this all the time now, both for still photos and video. At least on one of my cameras, usually I have two cameras at a time, and this covers just a huge range. I don't like the fact that it zooms out like that. I wish it was all internal, but overall, this has just been an awesome lens, and I use it all the time. F4 isn't the best for really super dark gymnasiums that I sometimes go into, but most facilities that I photograph at, f4 I can get away with. So an alternative to 24 to 120 would be the 24 to 70 f2.8 lens. Again, this is Nikon model, but all the manufacturers make zooms in this range at that f-stop. Again, very versatile at 24 to 70, wide angle to a moderate zoom. This could be used even for portraiture, establishing shots, more wide angle shots of players when you're a lot closer to them. It's good for basketball. That's what I normally use it for, indoor sports. So 24 to 70, another good alternative to this 24 to 120. The next one I want to talk about, and I'm going to put probably my most versatile lens at the very end. Probably should have said that at the beginning, but this is a 100 to 400 f 4.5 to 5.6. And as you see, it's relatively small, even though it goes out to 400 millimeter. It's relatively small and light, similar to a 70 to 200 2.8. I use this on a regular basis for outdoor sports on good light, in daylight conditions. And I will often pair it with a 1.4x teleconverter to get even more use out of it. So now it's up to a 560 millimeter at f8. Which, again, if I'm shooting sports during the day, that's perfectly acceptable. Nighttime, don't use it as much, except for video. Video has, you don't have as much of a concern about shutter speeds because I'm down around 2/50th of a second, even for slow motion. I tell you, for still photography, video, this is fantastic for sports, especially during the day. So I highly recommend something in this range. All the manufacturers make lenses in approximately this range, 100 to 400. I've seen 200 to 400. I've seen, 100 to 500 or 600. They all make them. So go find something in that range, relatively inexpensive compared to the lenses that go down to f2.8, right? And although the images are a little soft when you add the teleconverter to it, I just usually run it through dxopureraw 5 now, it used to be 4, and it sharpens it up just fine. So very versatile lens, and I use it on a regular basis, especially during the day. The next lens I want to talk about is not so small and not so cheap, but it is still extremely versatile. This is 120 millimeter to 300 zoom f2.8 lens. But this 120 to 300, I pretty much use it for all field sports, especially when I combine it with a 1.4x teleconverter, which takes it up to a 420 millimeter. But this zoom range is just totally awesome. I can get players that are basically right next to me or very close to me out to, halfway across the field. And depending on what the sport is, I use this on a regular basis, especially with a teleconverter during the day, because it only makes it an f4 lens, opens up nice and wide at 300, and you get some nice bokeh still, and you can cover just a wide range of the field. On top of that, it's great for indoor sports. I recently shot a series of high school basketball championships. I used this lens without the teleconverter indoors at the game, and I was able to shoot, mid-court all the way to the far end. All that action, nice tight shots at the far end of the basketball court. So very, very versatile lens. Very expensive, I will admit. So I'll be using this for quite some time to make up for what I spent on it. But it's a very versatile lens, and I really like it. And if you have the means, you might want to consider something like this. And finally, what I consider is the most versatile lens for sports photography, and probably the lens you should buy first if you're trying to get into sports photography. The 70 to 200 is fantastic for indoor sports, basketball, volleyball, you name it. It's great for indoor sports. It's perfect right up to, if you're on a baseline of a basketball court, all the way up to the midline, maybe even beyond the midline. For field sports, it is generally used as the secondary lens that most pros will have. They'll have maybe a 400-2.8 on one body, this lens on another body to get the shorter range stuff. I've had in a crunch, when my long prime broke down and wouldn't function correctly, I shot an entire soccer championship game with this lens. That's all I had, but I ended up with fantastic photos. I just had to wait till they got a lot closer. For sports photography, field, for action, it's a lot closer. It's great. For indoor sports, it is absolutely perfect. So if you are in the market trying to get into sports photography and you're looking for what is my first lens, this is it. Now that we've gone through all those lenses, what I feel are some of the most versatile that I own right now, or that I could use, or that I could recommend to people. I'm curious what y'all are using out there. Obviously, you have a crop frame camera. These focal lengths I've been talking about here are going to have to be adjusted, usually by 1.5 times or 1.6 times, depending on your model. So just keep that in mind. If you've got a crop frame camera, you'll need to shift at least to the left to get the same general focal lengths that I've just been talking about. All right, with that, if you're not already a subscriber and you got something out of this video, I would appreciate it if you were a subscriber. Hit that like and make sure you hit the notification bell so you are made aware of any new videos that come out. I appreciate you being here. Until next time, I'll see you later.